Welcome back to the lab, robots. Today we are going to take a look at a completely different architecture and run it through the Mistral board leader tests. We're going to take my personal MacBook Pro that I use for basically developing everything on my personal projects. This is a 10-core CPU, 32-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine, which doesn't really get used in our case, but it's got about 400 gigabits per second of memory bandwidth and 32 gigabytes of memory. So that you can see that off to the right hand side, this is basically going to be monitoring our CPU and GPU usage on this MacBook Pro while we're running it. Just to give a quick heads up, this machine is actually running my application. It is running local AI locally behind the scenes using metal inference, and we are going to run it through the leaderboard test. If you haven't seen the other videos, I suggest you go watch this entire series just so that you can get an idea of what we're doing here. But we're pitting hardware against each other, so let's go ahead and get this all set up. This is directly running on this machine using local AI. It does have metal inference turned on and compiled correctly. We'll put in our normal report. We are going to run our normal 100 token prompt, well, it's 111 tokens with the Mistral models across the board 20 times in Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6, Q8, and FP16 quants, and get all the results from these tests, show you guys those results, and then we'll place it on the leaderboard. So let's go ahead and get started here. This is Q3 of the Mistral Leaderboard test running on an M1 Max MacBook Pro. And seems to be just cruising right along. Let's go ahead and take a look at the very first result. Came back at about 38 tokens per second. Let's go ahead and kick this into fast forward, and we'll come back and set up for Q4 when this is done. And here we are at the very end of the Q3 quant tests, and finishing up at about 38.83 tokens per second. Let's go ahead and get this report produced, and then we'll go ahead and restart local AI and set up for Q4. And we'll go ahead and let that restart, and let me see if I can adjust the screen a little bit, try to start to make this easier for you guys to see. We're going to switch over to the Q4 model, put in our name, and we'll go right into this same 20 test, but on the Q4 quant, and see where this M1 Max actually goes. If you guys are paying attention to the wattage, it's only been using about 44 watts so far. It's pretty impressive for what it's coming back with, don't you guys think? Let me know down below, and we'll get into this. So now this is starting Q4. And we can see the memory loading up over there. And here it goes. Again, still looks like it's flying. I'm very interested to see where this ends up falling on the leaderboard. I do daily drive this laptop, so I kind of have a good feeling of where it performs at. But let's put some hard data to that, show you guys the reports, and then we'll see what it looks like on the leaderboard. First couple back at just over 42 tokens per second. Let's go ahead and kick it into fast forward and come back when we're ready for Q5. And this is the last bit of the Q5 test, coming back at about 40 and 43 tokens per second. Let's go ahead and generate this report so that we can combine it with the rest later on. We're going to go ahead and copy this name, produce the report, and we'll go ahead and restart local AI and get this set up for Q5. Go ahead and get my name put in here, switch it over to Q5. Get it out of our way here. Same 20 tests. Let's go ahead and get this started. Click send and wait for this to start to load up off to the side there. You can see the memory increasing. Still quite impressed. Even though I daily drive this, I've never actually put it through our Mistral Leaderboard test, just like we've done with all of that other hardware, CPU, and different GPUs. And remember, this is an Apple chip from 4 years ago. They've definitely gotten way better since then. First one back at about 34 tokens per second. Let's go ahead and kick this into fast forward and come back for Q6. And the end of those results come back at 34 tokens per second. Not bad, not bad. Let's go ahead and get ready and get this all set up for Quant 6. We're going to produce that report and restart local AI. And let's get this set up with the Q6K. Enter the name. We're going to change it up. Make sure we get the report so that we can gather this all up later. And the same 20 tests. Let's go ahead and get this started. Still, have only seen it being used about 50 watts in total in between the CPUs and the GPUs. Quite the performance for token per second, if you ask me. Apple's definitely on the game here. You can't count them out. Cruising still on a Q6 Quant. First one back at 33.8. All right, let's kick it into fast forward and we'll come back for the Q8 tests. And the last of the Q6 tests comes back at about 33.9 and just over 34 evaluation tokens per second. That's pretty impressive. And again, at 49 watts max. So let's go ahead and produce this report. And we'll restart local AI just like we normally do. And then set this all up for the Q8 Quant. There we go. Let's get the model name in there. Change it over to the Q8. Press enter. Get these settings out of our way. Same 20 tests at Q8. Let's go ahead and get this started off. I'm watching the memory load up over there. Should start responding any second. And there we go. That's the Q8 running on this M1 Max. Still quite impressive. Cruising right along. 33.85 tokens per second. Let's go ahead and kick this into fast forward mode and we'll come back for the very last test, which is the full FP16 version. And this is the last bit of the Quant 8 test, coming back at about 34 tokens per second. That's quite impressive at about 50 watts, if you ask me. Let's go ahead and get this report generated so that we can use it after this last test and do our normal restart local AI so that we clear out all the logs. And we'll set this up for our very last test, which is the full FP16. Put in our report name, change that up to FP16, hit apply, get these settings out of our way. Make sure we have the FP16 model. We do. Let's go ahead and hit send and get this off to the races. Any guesses on full FP16 on this M1 MacBook Pro from 2021? We can see the memory loading up over there. And there it goes. Whew, yeah, this is moving pretty quick for the full FP16. I would like to see what some of the newer Macs out there can do. What do you guys think? Tell me down below what you guys think about this Mac compared to all these GPUs and CPUs we've been testing. Their architecture is good. You got to give it to them. 19.88 tokens per second on FP16. Okay, let's kick this into fast forward mode. We'll come back and take all the reports from all the different quants and put them into one so that we can see them on graphs, and then we'll take the averages from that and go throw it on the Mistral Leaderboard and see where this MacBook Pro lands. And this is the very last bit of the 20 tests on the FP16. Still moving quite along, finishing off at still about 20 tokens per second, basically flatlining the whole test. Quite impressive. Let's get the report generated, and then we will go straight in this time to combining all of these reports up. So let me get this generated real quick. Flip over, I gotta show more report management. There we go. Now we're going to find all of those reports that we did with this MacBook Pro today, and we're going to combine them all into one big report that we can look at all the graphs off of. If you really want to know behind the scenes, it's really just turning it into a multi-sheet Excel file. Yes, I'm using Excel as a database behind this app. All right, now we created that one big report. Let's expand the screen out so that we can go take a look at the results. Flip over there. Let's go find the M1 MacBook Pro report. Yeah, right there. Scroll up so that we can see it. Get that. Oh, wait, we're going to need that. Got to be able to switch in between the templates. Okay. All right, this is the prompt evaluation time of this M1 Max MacBook Pro from 2021. In blue, we've got FP16. In brown, we have Q8. Purple is Q6. Red is Q5. Green is Q4. And Q3 is in orange. This looks like our typical charts pretty much. Let's go take a look at the evaluation time. Yep, FP16 definitely above the rest as we would expect, but the rest of them are pretty grouped in there for evaluation time. MacBook Pro performs pretty darn good. So this is the total time. That would be both those times put together. Prompt tokens evaluate of flat 111 across the board, as it should be. Completion tokens. This mimics the length of the response that you are getting from the model. Not accuracy, but length. The total tokens would be the last two put together. Prompt tokens per second. Okay, we've got FP16 down at the bottom as we would expect. And then what everyone's waiting for, the evaluation tokens per second. So we can see the FP16 down at the bottom just basically flatlined, the whole test flatlined at about 20 tokens per second. And then we have the Q8, Q6, and Q5 all bunched up together in there at 33 to 34 tokens per second. And then we have the Q3 in orange and Q4 in green, with some dips in both of those, which is also interesting. I can't explain that except for we're running a lot of stuff on this machine at the same time. Maybe it dropped down a little bit. Who knows? Quite impressive for this MacBook Pro. Let me go ahead and get the results over to the leaderboard. Okay, and just remind everyone, you can always come to RoboTF.ai and see the Mistral 7 leaderboard or the different reports that you could see from the different sites and all the different tests that we actually run. I try to add them all. But let's go back to the Mistral 7 leaderboard and actually see where this MacBook Pro ended up. So let me switch over and we'll start with the Q3 Quant. Place your guesses down below. Whew, in 6th place at 37.92 tokens per second. So just chasing that 4060 Ti, but well above the M40. Now remember, this is same architecture. It's local AI, which is running Llama CPP under the hood. It's just this time we were using metal-based inference on a Mac instead of, say, CUDA on an NVIDIA card. Not too bad, not too bad at all. Tell me what you guys think. Let's see how this story progresses. We'll go check out the Q4. Much of the same story, but look at this. 40.3 to 43.22 off of that 4060 Ti. Now remember, the 4060 Ti is pretty new. It was just released last year, and this MacBook Pro is from 2021. Yeah, interesting and impressive. And doing it at much lower wattage too. Let's remember that. So let's go on to the Q5. Still in 6th place, right behind the 4060 Ti, but just barely, 34.42. Remember, these are averages to 36.54, but less than half the wattage. Impressive, impressive. Not exactly where I expected to see this laptop end up. Q6. All right. Still in 6th place. Closing in though, 34 on the 4060 Ti to 33.8. 1 token per second away from the 4060 Ti on the Q6 Quant. Let's go take a look at Q8. Oh. In Q8 it took over 5th place and beating the 4060 Ti by a decent margin. 34.03 as an average to 28.34 on the Q8 Quant. Very nice indeed. Look at that. Now let's do and see what it did on the FP16, because we saw on the test it was just flatlined. Oh, 5th place in between the 4060 Ti and the A4500 with 19.92 average across the test evaluation tokens per second at 49 watts. Whew. I don't know about you guys, but that's actually pretty impressive. I kind of feel like I should have put this laptop through the leaderboard well before now. If you enjoy this series, please do me a favor, go ahead and like. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe, because we keep doing these tests and our goal is to use the same model and compare different hardware with the same inference engine as much as we possibly can, right? We're going to have to change it up here and there so that we can get a real idea of how all of this hardware stacks up against each other. Remember, folks, buy your AI pizza. It will make your life just that much better. Plus, you get to eat it all. Hope you guys enjoyed this midweek update. See you guys next time.